cells that viruses lack. Endosymbiosis is where a eukaryote engulfs a free-living prokaryote cell. A eukaryotic cell engulfs a prokaryotic cell, and later in evolutionary history cell B engulfs another eukaryotic cell. The eukaryotic cell A will then become a secondary plastid. It is false that to survive on land, all plants produce seeds. Most plants will, however several groups do not. Seeds are one adaptation that prevents the plant's embryo from drying out during dispersal. Seedless plants thrive in moist environments that are still on land. It is false that secondary endosymbiosis occurs when a cell containing a secondary plastid is engulfed by another cell. This is because when secondary endosymbiosis occurs when a cell with a primary plastid is engulfed. Bacteria are organisms that are studied in botany. Viruses, on the other hand, aren't organisms but are still studied in botany. Fungi are also studied in botany. They can be multicellular or unicellular. Fungi, plants, and algae are all eukaryotes. Stromatolites are fossils of mats of photosynthetic bacteria. They are dated to be about 3.5 billion years old. Nearly all plants have cuticles and stomata. Some plants have seeds, vascular tissue, pollen, and true roots. What is evolution systematics? In a common garden experiment, seeds are collected from multiple locations and sown in a single location. The common garden experiment is an example of reciprocal transplants, that of which involves growing plants from each population at each location. The most parsimonious phylogeny is the one with the fewest evolutionary changes. The movement of individuals between each population is called the morphological species concept. Identifying species based on appearance is most aligned with the morphological species concept. The study of genetic variation and change in allele frequencies in a population is population genetics. A genetically distinct population of the same species that are adapted to different environments is an ecotype. All the alleles within a population is a gene pool. Relative reproductive success associated with a particular allele or genotype are called fitness. Occurs when hybrids are reproductively isolated from their parent species even though chromosome doubling has not occurred is called recombination speciation. Occurs when interacting species exert selection on each other, may favor extreme traits in both species which is known as coevolution. Involves planting seeds from different populations in the same location to see if the phenotypic differences among these populations are due to genetic differences which is known as the common garden experiment's reciprocal transplant. Polyploid speciation involves doubling of the entire set of chromosomes. Specifically, allopolyploid speciation occurs if two different species hybridize and chromosome duplication later occurs. In contrast, autopolyploid speciation results from errors in meiosis and does not involve hybridization. Serpentine soils have a unique greenish-gray appearance and contain compounds toxic to most plants. Additionally, they have low levels of several minerals required by plants. Whiteleaf manzanita can tolerate serpentine soil better than common leaf manzanita. Both species occur in the same general geographic area. These species likely diverged by sympatric speciation because there is no evidence that a geographic barrier separated the two populations. Sympatric speciation is where occurs when populations become reproductively isolated in the absence of a geographic barrier. The features in domain archaea are prokaryotic cells, histone proteins, and a circular chromosome. The features in domain bacteria are some members contain chlorophyll and conduct photosynthesis, prokaryotic cells, and a circular chromosome. The features in domain eukarya are organelles are present, some members contain chlorophyll and conduct photosynthesis, nucleus and nuclear envelope, introns and histone proteins. Domain eukarya and archaea are more closely related than they are to bacteria. Traits, phenotypes, do not provide the most reliable data for phylogenetic analysis. It is true that one advantage of using molecular data, such as DNA sequences, to inform phylogenies is that organisms will not be incorrectly grouped based on analogies. Eukaryotes have recently been rearranged into 4 kingdoms: fungi, plantae, animalia, and protista. What are prokaryotes, viruses, and fungi? Viroids are infectious pieces of RNA, which life cycle has a multicellular haploid life stage. This would be alteration of generations, haplodiplonic, and haploid dominant, haplonic. This is because the only multicellular life stage in the haploid dominant life cycle is haploid. The alternation of generations includes 2 multicellular life stages. One is the gametophyte, which is a haploid. Diploid dominant is diplonic. Alteration of generations is haplodiplonic. Haploid dominant is haplonic. Ascospores are sexual spores that are found in groups of 8 within sacs. Basidiospores are sexual spores that are on a pedestal called a basidium in groups of 4. Acinites are found in cyanobacteria rather than in fungi. Furthermore, acinites are resistant spores. Heterocysts are cells specialized in nitrogen fixation. Biofilms are networks of prokaryotic cells and their secretions. Hyphae are thread-like strands of fungal cells. A viroid is small, circular, single-stranded RNA molecule that infects plants. Lichen is a symbiosis between a photobionт and mycobionт. Mycology is the study of fungi. Akinete is a resistant spore found in some cyanobacteria. Mycelium is a mass of hyphae. Mycorrhizae is fungi that form a symbiotic relationship with plant roots. Chemosynthesis is the process of producing sugars using energy from inorganic molecules. Two genera of bacteria that form root nodules in legumes are Brdyhizobium and Rhizobium. Cyanobacteria are ancestors of chloroplasts. Some fix nitrogen. Green bacteria Phylochlorophlexi and chlorobi, which groups are in the domain Achi, methanogens, extreme halophiles, and extreme thermophiles, which groups are photosynthetic, purple bacteria, prochlorophytes, green bacteria and cyanobacteria, which groups contain chlorophyll A, cyanobacteria, and prochlorophytes. Prochlorophytes also contain chlorophyll B. Purple bacteria and green bacteria contains bacteria chlorophyll. Cyanobacteria and prochlorophytes are some members with thylakoid membranes. The groups which contain plant pathogens are Phytoplasmus and Mycoplasmus. The groups which lack cell walls are Mycoplasmus and Phytoplasmus. The flagellum moves the cell. The fimbriae aids in adherence and protection. Inclusions are deposits of enzymes, carbohydrates, lipids or minerals in the cell. Cytoplasm and cytosol suspend cell contents. Ribosomes produce proteins. Cell walls help with protections and water balance. Plasma membrane regulates transport, and are attached to the bacterial chromosome. The glycocalyx is the capsule or slime layer outside of the cell wall. Bacterial chromosome is the main DNA molecule that stores the cell's genetic material. The nucleoid is the region of cytoplasm that contain the bacterial chromosome. Additional pieces of DNA present in some cells are known as plasmids. Fungi have cell walls that are made from the polysaccharide chitin. They are heterotrophic by absorption. Fungi stores the energy as glycogen. Chirids produce motile zoospores that of which may be unicellular, a primary cell with rhizoids or a mycelium of coenocytic hyphae which are often parasitic. Zygomycetes are producers of sporangiospores and zygosporangia, coenocytic hyphae. Ascomycetes produces asexual spores in a sac. Asexual spores are conidia. Septid hyphae, some have a cup-shaped fruiting bodies, most lichen are formed by this group. Microsporidians are obligate intracellular parasites that lack functional mitochondria. Glomeromycetes form arbuscular mycorrhizae. Basidiomycetes are producers of four sexual spores on a microscopic club-shaped structure. Separate hyphae with clamp connections. Some mushrooms have fruiting bodies. Chytrids and zygomycetes are polyphyletic. The subphyla of Basidiomycota are Stylaginamycotina, Puccineomycotina, Agaricomycotina. Fungi typically have a haploid dominant, haplotonic, lifestyle meaning they go through zygotic meiosis. The gametophyte is a multicellular haploid life stage that is present in the alternation of generations, haplodiplontic, life cycle which involves spirit meiosis.